The great hall of Nexus Prime Station stretched out like a massive cathedral made of crystal and metal. Hundreds of seats arranged in circles faced the center platform where the most important decisions in the galaxy were made. Today, like every day for the past 3 years, Ambassador Lisa Martinez sat in the small section marked for humanity. Her dark hair was pulled back in a simple style, and she wore the plain blue uniform that marked her as Earth's representative. Next to her sat Captain Jake Robinson, a tall man with gray hair who had served in the human space fleet for 20 years. He looked calm, but his fingers drummed quietly on the table. Both humans had been coming to these meetings for months, asking the same question and getting the same answer. The 12 great alien races controlled the Galactic Council. They had been traveling between stars for thousands of years while humans had only learned to leave their solar system 200 years ago. To them, humanity was like a child asking to sit at the adult table. Chancellor Kethmore rose from the seat on the high platform. He belonged to the Zephyrian race, tall beings with blue skin and 4 arms who thought they were better than everyone else. His voice echoed through the hall as he spoke. "We gather today to discuss the ongoing request from the human delegation for full membership in this council," he said. His tone made it clear what he thought about that idea. As we have explained many times, membership requires certain standards of technology and military strength. Murmurs came from the other alien delegates. The crystalline hegemon Valthara, whose body looked like it was made of living diamonds, spoke next. Her voice sounded like wind chimes in a breeze. "The human vessels we have observed are barely suitable for system patrol duties," she said. "Their weapons are primitive chemical rockets. Their shields cannot even stop asteroid impacts properly." More aliens nodded and made sounds of agreement. Of the Hive Queen Zath, who looked like a giant insect, with 6 legs and glowing eyes, clicked her mandibles together. "Their largest warship is smaller than our cargo vessels," she said. "How can they defend anything beyond their own small planet?" Ambassador Martinez had heard all of this before. She had listened to these speeches about human weakness and primitive technology for 3 years. Each time she had nodded politely and asked them to reconsider. Each time they had said no with barely hidden laughter, but today felt different. Today, Captain Robinson had a small device in his hand that he kept looking at. Today, Ambassador Martinez seemed more relaxed than usual, as if she knew something the aliens did not. "Honored members of the Council," Martinez said as she stood up, "may I address the Assembly?" Chancellor Kethmore waved one of his 4 hands in a bored gesture. "Of course, Ambassador. Though I hope you have something new to say." Martinez walked to the center of the hall. All around her, aliens from dozens of different worlds watched with expressions that ranged from mild interest to open mockery. She had gotten used to those looks. "I want to thank the Council for their patience with humanity's request," she began. "We understand that you have concerns about our military capabilities and our technology level." "Concerns?" The nocturnal Commander Yictel spoke from his perch high above the other seats. His species looked like giant bats with leathery wings and large ears. "We have observed your fleet, human. 12 ships total in this sector. Small ships with weak weapons." "Yes," Martinez replied calmly. "You have observed our local patrol group. But I think there may be some misunderstandings about what you have seen." The aliens looked at each other with amusement. What could this primitive human possibly know that they did not? Misunderstandings? Chancellor Kethmore's voice carried a hint of irritation now. "Our sensors are the finest in the galaxy. We know exactly what your ships can do." Captain Robinson was looking at his device again. Whatever he saw there made him nod slightly too. "Ambassador Martinez, with respect, Chancellor, your sensors show you what we have allowed you to see," Martinez said. "For the past 2 centuries, humanity has been very careful about what we reveal to other species." The hall grew quieter. This was not the usual humble request for membership. There was something in the human ambassador's voice that had not been there before. "What exactly are you suggesting?" Valthara asked, her crystal body reflecting the lights in strange patterns. "I am suggesting that humanity has been generous in showing restraint," Martinez replied. "We have followed galactic law. We have kept our true capabilities hidden to avoid causing panic or fear. Now the aliens were paying attention. A few of them leaned forward in their seats. True capabilities? Hive Queen Zaith's compound eyes focused on the human woman. You speak as if you have been hiding something significant. We have, Martinez said simply. The question is whether the galaxy is ready to see what humanity has really built. Chancellor Kethmore stood up, all four of his arms crossed over his chest. Enough of this fantasy. Humanity achieved faster-than-light travel only 200 years ago. You cannot possibly have developed anything that would impress civilizations that have existed for millennia. Cannot? Martinez asked. Or should not? The question hung in the air like a challenge. Captain Robinson touched his device, sending a signal that traveled faster than light to the edge of the star system. The message was simple, but it would change everything. Protocol 7, Authorization Martinez Alpha 7. None of the aliens noticed the signal. They were too busy being annoyed by what they saw as human arrogance. Perhaps, Martinez continued, it is time for a proper demonstration. A demonstration of what? Chancellor Kethmore demanded. Your 12 patrol boats? A demonstration of why humanity has been so patient with this council's rejection of our membership application, Martinez said. We did not need to join the council for protection. We did not need your technology or your trade agreements to survive. She paused and looked around the great hall at all the alien faces staring down at her. We wanted to join because we hoped to be part of something larger than ourselves. We wanted to work together with other intelligent species to build a better galaxy. Very noble, Velthara said, with a sound like breaking glass that might have been laughter. But nobility does not make up for weak ships and primitive weapons. You are right, Martinez agreed. Nobility alone is not enough. That is why humanity built something else. Captain Robinson was smiling now, though he tried to hide it. His device showed green lights across the board. The signal had been received and confirmed. Built what? Hive Queen Zaith demanded. Ambassador Martinez looked up at the great dome above them, as if she could see through the metal and crystal to the stars beyond. We built the most powerful military force this galaxy has ever seen, she said quietly. And for 200 years we have kept it hidden while we learned about all of you, while we studied your strengths and your weaknesses, while we decided whether you could be trusted with the truth. The hall erupted in sounds of disbelief and anger. Aliens shouted in a dozen different languages. Chancellor Kethmore raised all forearms for silence. This is absurd, he declared. Human, your species cannot even build proper shields for your ships. What could you possibly have that would threaten races that have mastered space travel for thousands of years? Ambassador Martinez smiled for the first time since the meeting began. Would you like to find out? She asked. The challenge was clear. The aliens could accept humanity's word or they could demand proof. Either way, the age of hiding was about to end. 3 days had passed since Ambassador Martinez made her strange challenge to the Galactic Council. Most of the alien delegates had dismissed her words as the desperate boasting of a primitive species. They went back to their normal business of running the galaxy, confident that humans knew their place. Then the alarms started screaming. The first warning came from Outpost Delta, a monitoring station at the edge of known space. Commander Yichtel of the Nocturnal Defense Force was reviewing routine sensor sweeps when his equipment began showing readings that made no sense. This cannot be right, he muttered, his large bat-like ears twitching with nervousness. He ran the scans again, then a third time. Each result was the same. Massive energy signatures were approaching from the galactic rim. Not 1 or 2 ships, but dozens of them. Each signature was larger than anything in the current galactic fleet records. Commander Yichtel's clawed hands shook as he activated the emergency communication system. His message went out on all military frequencies across the galaxy. This is Outpost Delta with an urgent warning to all Council forces. We have multiple large contacts approaching from coordinates 7-7-Mark-4. Speed and energy readings are off our charts. Repeat, we have unknown vessels of extreme size moving toward Council space. Within minutes, every military commander in the sector was staring at the same impossible readings. The ships were moving faster than anything should be able to move. They were bigger than anything that should be able to exist. Admiral Ben Carter stood on the bridge of the USS Vigilant, one of the 12 human ships that the aliens had observed and dismissed. He was a quiet man with brown hair and steady eyes who had served humanity for 30 years. His crew trusted him completely, which was good because what he was about to tell them would sound crazy. "All hands, this is the Admiral," he announced over the ship's communication system. "We are receiving reports of unidentified vessels approaching. From deep space, I want all systems at full readiness." His first officer, Commander Lisa Parks, looked at the sensor readings with confusion. "Sir, these energy signatures are massive. What could be generating this kind of power?" Admiral Carter's expression was grim. He had hoped this day would never come, but he had prepared for it anyway. "Commander, send a message to Earth Command. Use priority alpha encryption. Tell them we may have a Code Black situation developing." Code Black was a term that most of Admiral Carter's crew had never heard before. It meant something so dangerous that it could threaten all life in the galaxy. On Nexus Prime Station, the Galactic Council was meeting in emergency session. Chancellor Kethmore paced back and forth on the central platform while alien delegates shouted questions and demands in dozens of languages. "Order!" he commanded, using all four arms to gesture for silence. "We need facts, not panic." The crystalline hegemon Valthara stood up, her diamond-like body catching the light. "Our deep space sensors confirm the reports. 37 massive vessels approaching at impossible velocities. Their design does not match any known species." Hive Queen Zakth clicked her mandibles together in agitation. "The energy readings suggest weapons capability far beyond anything in our current fleets. These are not exploration vessels." A cold feeling was growing in the chamber. The older aliens remembered stories from their history, legends about something terrible that had come from the dark spaces between galaxies. Thousands of years ago, Ambassador Martinez sat quietly in the human section, listening to the growing panic around her. Captain Robinson was checking his communications device again, receiving messages that only he could read. "The shape of the vessels," said Commander Yichtel from his perch high above the other delegates. "Our computer analysis suggests they match certain historical records." The hall went silent. Every species in the galaxy knew those historical records, even if they wished they could forget them. "You cannot mean the Devourers," Chancellor Kethmore said quietly. The words sent fear through every alien in the chamber. The Devourers were machines, artificial beings that had appeared from outside the galaxy 5,000 years ago. They consumed entire civilizations, turning planets into raw materials for their endless expansion. It had taken 50 different species working together to drive them away. Even then, victory had cost billions of lives and left entire star systems empty. The war against the Devourers was the worst disaster in galactic history. "Impossible," Valthara declared, but her voice sounded uncertain. "The Devourers were destroyed. Our ancestors made sure of that." "Our ancestors drove them back," corrected an elderly delegate from the Ethereal Collective. "They were never destroyed, only forced to retreat beyond the galactic rim." The implications hit everyone at the same time. If the Devourers had returned, then every living thing in the galaxy was in danger. The machines did not negotiate. They did not take prisoners. They simply consumed everything they found and turned it into more machines. Admiral Carter received a priority message on his personal communication channel. The words were simple, but they changed everything. "Admiral, this is Earth Command. Confirm Devourer identification. You are authorized to implement Protocol 7 immediately. All human assets are now under your direct command." Protocol 7. Admiral Carter had hoped he would never receive that authorization. It meant that humanity was about to stop pretending to be weak. "Commander Parks," he said to his first officer, "send a message to all ships in the human patrol group. Tell them to prepare for combat operations." "Sir, with respect, we only have 12 ships." How can we fight something that required 50 allied fleets to stop? Admiral Carter looked at his loyal officer and decided it was time to tell her the truth. Commander, those 12 ships the aliens have been watching are not our entire fleet. They are not even our real warships. They are decoys designed to make everyone think humanity is weak. Commander Parks stared at him in shock. Decoys, sir? For 200 years, humanity has been building the most advanced fleet in galactic history. We have been studying every alien species, learning their technology, understanding their weaknesses. We have been preparing for threats that most species cannot even imagine. Before Commander Parks could ask more questions, the emergency communication system activated. The voice belonged to Commander Yichtel at Outpost Delta, and it was filled with terror. All stations, all stations. The unknown vessels have reached the outer colonies. Zephyrian Mining World Delta 7 has been... The transmission cut off in a burst of static. Within hours, the reports started coming in. Delta 7 was gone. Not destroyed in the usual sense, but converted. The planet's entire mass had been transformed into raw materials that the Devourer ships were already using to build more machines. The mining world had held 3 million Zephyrian civilians. Now it was nothing but floating metal and circuitry, organized into new weapons of destruction. Chancellor Kethmore stood before the Galactic Council with his blue skin pale with shock. The Devourers have returned, he announced. They have technology we do not understand and power we cannot match. We must mobilize every ship, every weapon, every warrior in the galaxy. The great alien fleets began moving toward the threat. The Zephyrian Grand Fleet deployed 800 of their most advanced cruisers. The crystalline hegemon sent their geometric fortress ships that could crack moons with focused energy beams. The Hive Queen released swarms of biomechanical fighters that moved like living things but hit like missiles. In total, over 3,000 alien warships moved to form a defensive line at the Kepler Nebula. It was the largest military force assembled since the original Devourer War. What about the humans? Asked Valthara during the final strategy meeting. Will their 12 patrol ships join the battle? Ambassador Martinez stood up slowly. Captain Robinson was smiling now, no longer trying to hide his expression. The human fleet will be there, she said simply. 12 ships against this threat? Chancellor Kethmore shook his head. They will be destroyed in the first minutes of combat. Perhaps, Martinez replied. Or perhaps the galaxy is about to learn what humanity has really been building. As the great alien fleets moved toward their destiny, Admiral Carter stood on his bridge watching the tactical displays. His communications officer, Lieutenant Carroll Webb, was receiving coded messages from across human space. Sir, I have confirmations from Fleet Admiral Davis, Fleet Admiral Thompson, and Fleet Admiral Bell. All deep space assets are moving to intercept coordinates. Admiral Carter nodded. After 2 centuries of hiding, humanity was about to reveal its true strength. The question was whether the galaxy would survive what was coming next. The Devourers were approaching, their ancient hunger driving them toward the heart of galactic civilization. But this time they would face something they had never encountered before. This time they would face humanity at war. The combined fleet of the Galactic Council stretched across space like a metal wall. 3,000 warships from 12 different species formed battle lines at the edge of the Kepler Nebula. It was the largest military force ever assembled. In galactic history, Chancellor Kethmore commanded the operation from his flagship, the mighty Zephyrian dreadnought Eternal Glory. Around him, his officers worked frantically to coordinate the massive fleet. Ships from dozens of different worlds had to work together despite using different technologies and speaking different languages. All vessels report ready for combat, announced his communications officer. The crystalline fortress ships are in position. The hive swarms are deployed. The nocturnal interceptors are standing by. Kethmore nodded grimly. He had fought in many battles during his long life, but never against anything like the Devourers. The ancient machines had been nightmares from his childhood, stories told to frighten young Zephyrians into behaving. Now those nightmares were real and heading straight toward them. What about the human vessel? He asked. On the tactical display, a single small ship appeared at the edge of the formation. The USS Vigilant looked tiny compared to the massive alien warships around it. Admiral Carter had positioned his ship away from the main battle line, almost as if he planned to run when the fighting started. "The human Admiral Carter reports his ship is ready," the communications officer said. "He has requested that we maintain our positions for 10 minutes once the battle begins." 10 minutes? Kethmar's forearms gestured in confusion. What can one small human ship do in 10 minutes that 3,000 of our vessels cannot? Before anyone could answer, the Devourer fleet appeared on the sensors. 37 massive ships emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the nebula. Each vessel was several kilometers long and covered with weapons that seemed to bend light around them. The sight of them sent fear through every alien. Crew, these were the machines that had consumed entire civilizations. Their hulls were made from the processed remains of 1,000 different worlds. "All ships, this is Chancellor Kethmar," he broadcast to the entire fleet. "Today we fight not just for our own species, but for all life in the galaxy. Show these machines that the younger races have learned from our ancestors' sacrifice." The battle began with the aliens firing first. 800 Zephyrian cruisers launched their most powerful energy weapons. Beams of concentrated plasma that could melt asteroids struck the lead Devourer ships. The crystalline fortress ships fired focused gravitational waves that could crush planets. The Hive Queen's biomechanical swarms swarmed forward like angry insects, each fighter carrying enough firepower to destroy a city. Nocturnal interceptors dove and twisted through space, their pilots using their natural flight instincts to avoid enemy fire. For a moment, it looked like the alien fleet might actually win. Explosions bloomed across the Devourer formation as thousands of weapons struck their targets. Then the enemy shields adapted. The Devourer vessels began to glow with an eerie light as their defensive systems analyzed every weapon being used against them. In real time, their hulls shifted and changed to become immune to each type of attack. Plasma beams that had been causing damage suddenly had no effect at all. "Impossible," whispered the crystalline hegemon Valfara from her command ship. "Their shields are learning from our attacks." The Devourers began firing back. Their weapons were unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. Beams of pure destruction tore through space, and where they touched alien ships, those vessels simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed or exploded, but erased as if they had never been built. The first Zephyrian cruiser to be hit disappeared in a flash of light. Then another. Then 10 more. The alien weapons that should have destroyed the enemy machines were having no effect, but the Devourer weapons cut through alien shields like they were made of paper. "All ships, evasive maneuvers," Chancellor Kethmar ordered. But it was too late. The enemy had surrounded them with some kind of energy field that prevented faster-than-light escape. The entire alien fleet was trapped. Within the first hour of battle, 200 Zephyrian ships were gone. The proud crystalline fortress ships began cracking under weapons that attacked the very structure of matter itself. Entire swarms of hive fighters were caught in energy storms that turned them into glowing dust. Commander Yictel of the Nocturnal Forces sent a desperate message to all remaining ships. "Their weapons adapt faster than we can change tactics. We cannot win this battle." Panic spread through the alien fleet. These were the same weapons that had destroyed their ancestors 5,000 years ago, but now they were even more powerful. The Devourers had spent millennia improving their technology while the aliens had grown comfortable and soft. Chancellor Kethmar watched his fleet being destroyed ship by ship. In another hour, nothing would be left except wreckage and the advancing enemy. He prepared to send a final message to warn the inner worlds when a calm voice spoke on the emergency channel. "This is Admiral Carter of the human vessel USS Vigilant. I am requesting that all surviving Council ships clear the combat zone immediately." "Clear the zone?" Kethmar shouted into his communicator. "There is nowhere to go. We are trapped." "Please trust me, Chancellor. Move your ships to coordinates I am sending now, immediately." It seemed insane to take orders from the commander of a single small human ship, but Kethmer had run out of options. All ships follow the human coordinates. Emergency retreat to the position Admiral Carter has specified. The remaining alien vessels, barely 50 ships out of the original 3,000, limped toward the coordinates Admiral Carter had provided. As they moved, the Devourers continued their methodical destruction of everything in their path. That was when space itself began to change. At first, it looked like heat shimmer on a hot day. The area around the nebula began to ripple and bend, as if reality was becoming liquid. The effect grew stronger until it seemed like someone was tearing holes in the fabric of space itself. What is happening? Velthara asked, her crystalline body reflecting strange colors from the distortions around them. Admiral Carter's voice came over the communication channel again, still perfectly calm despite the chaos around them. This is Captain Helen Morris, of the human Deep Space Fleet, arriving on station. The first ship to emerge from the tears in space made every alien in the fleet forget how to breathe. The USS Leviathan was 15 kilometers long and 3 kilometers wide. Its hull was covered with weapon systems that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at the same time. The ship was so large that it cast shadows over entire sections of the alien fleet. By the ancient gods, whispered Chancellor Kethma. What is that thing? Before anyone could answer, more ships began emerging from the dimensional rifts. The UHSV Titan, commanded by Captain Ryan Bell, deployed weapons platforms that floated around it like deadly satellites. The UHSV Sovereign under Captain Lavra King began charging systems that made space itself hum with barely contained energy. Each human ship that appeared was larger and more advanced than anything the aliens had ever imagined. The technology they displayed was beyond the understanding of species that had been traveling between stars for thousands of years. Admiral Carter finally spoke again from his position at the edge of the battle. Captain Morris, you have permission to engage the enemy. Show them what humanity has learned. Captain Morris's response was simple and terrifying. Understood, Admiral. Beginning combat operations. The human ships did not fire conventional weapons. Instead, they used forces that the alien observers could barely comprehend. The UHSV Leviathan fired beams that bent space-time itself, creating gravitational waves that tore the Devourer ships apart at the molecular level. The UHSV Titan deployed weapons that seemed to age enemy vessels thousands of years in seconds, turning advanced war machines into ancient scrap metal. The UHSV Sovereign used energy fields that made Devourer weapons simply stop working, as if the laws of physics had been rewritten around them. The battle that had been a hopeless slaughter suddenly became a one-sided demonstration of human power. Devourer ships that had easily destroyed the alien fleet found themselves helpless against weapons that operated on principles they could not adapt to or understand. Within minutes, half the Devourer fleet was destroyed. The ancient machines tried to retreat, but the humans had surrounded them with the same kind of energy field they had used to trap the aliens. There would be no escape this time. Chancellor Kethmar stared at the tactical display in shock. The humans were not just winning the battle. They were dominating it completely. Ships that had seemed invincible were being destroyed with casual ease by a fleet that had appeared from nowhere. Where did they come from? He asked in wonder. How long have they been hiding this kind of power? Admiral Carter's voice answered him directly. We have been preparing for this day since we first learned that the galaxy was not empty, Chancellor. Humanity does not like to be caught unprepared. As the last Devourer ship exploded in a burst of twisted metal and energy, the human fleet began forming up around the survivors of the alien force. The massive ships moved with impossible grace, their crews working with precision that suggested years of practice with this kind of technology. The space around the Kepler Nebula continued to ripple and tear as more human ships emerged from their dimensional rifts. What the aliens had thought was the entire human rescue fleet was only the beginning. Dozens more vessels materialized from folds in reality that made the alien observers question everything they knew about science. Captain Alice Reed stood on the bridge of the UHSV Dominator, watching her crew work with practiced efficiency. For 2 centuries, they had trained for this moment while the galaxy believed humanity was weak and primitive. Now they were finally free to show what they could really do. "Captain, all weapon systems are online," reported her tactical officer, Lieutenant Mark Davis. "Enemy vessels are attempting to adapt to our gravitational disruptors, but their shields cannot compensate for dimensional phasing." Captain Reed nodded calmly. The Devourer ships had been terrifying to the alien fleet, because their adaptive technology could learn to resist any conventional weapon. But human weapons did not follow conventional rules. When you could manipulate the basic structure of reality itself, enemy defenses became meaningless. "Continue the attack pattern," she ordered. "Make sure none of them escape to report back to whatever force sent them." On his flagship, Chancellor Kethmore watched the tactical display with growing amazement and fear. Each human ship that appeared was larger and more advanced than the last. The USS Vigilant, which he had thought was humanity's most powerful vessel, was barely visible among the massive dreadnoughts that now filled the battle space. "How many ships do they have?" he asked his sensor operator. "Unknown, sir. Our instruments cannot get accurate readings on their fleet composition. Their hulls seem to exist partially outside normal space." The communications officer looked up from his station with confusion. "Sir, I am receiving status reports from ships I have never heard of. The UHSV Thunderbolt, the UHSV Lightning, the UHSV Infinity. These vessel names do not appear in any of our databases." Chancellor Kethmore realized with growing horror that humanity had not just hidden a few advanced ships. They had hidden an entire fleet that made the combined forces of the Galactic Council look like toys. Commander Gary Foster of the UHSV Thunderbolt was demonstrating humanity's mastery of temporal mechanics. His ship's weapons did not destroy enemy vessels in the traditional sense. Instead, they accelerated time around Devourer ships until thousands of years passed in seconds. Ancient war machines that had survived for millennia crumbled into dust as their metal aged beyond its structural limits. "Target the lead Devourer vessel," Commander Foster ordered his weapons officer. "Full temporal acceleration, maximum dispersion." Field. The beam that lanced out from the UHSV Thunderbolt was invisible to normal sensors, but its effects were immediate and terrifying. The massive enemy ship began to decay in fast motion. Hull plates that had been forged from the remains of dead civilizations turned to rust and fell away. Weapon systems that had functioned for thousands of years suddenly failed as their components reached the end of their useful life. Within moments, a ship that had been the terror of the galaxy became a cloud of ancient scrap metal drifting through space. The aliens watching from their damaged vessels could not believe what they were seeing. Time manipulation was theoretical science to them, something discussed in universities but never achieved. The humans were using it as a routine weapon. Captain Diana Wolf of the UHSV Infinity had an even more disturbing demonstration to offer. Her ship specialized in dimensional warfare, fighting battles that existed in multiple realities at the same time. The Devourer vessels found themselves under attack from weapons that came from directions that did not exist in normal space. "Captain, the enemy is attempting to trace our firing positions," reported her science officer, Commander Tony Parker. "Their computers cannot process attacks originating from parallel dimensions." "Maintain dimensional shift," Captain Wolf replied. "Keep us phased between realities. Let them wonder where we are." The UHSV Infinity fired again, but this time the weapon beam appeared to come from inside the target vessel itself. The Devourer ship's adaptive shields were useless against an attack that bypassed three-dimensional space entirely. The enemy vessel imploded as its hull tried to exist in two different realities at the same time. Admiral Carter coordinated the battle from what the aliens had thought was a simple human cruiser. In reality, the USS Vigilant was one of humanity's command and control vessels, designed to appear harmless while directing the movements of the true fleet. "Admiral, we have confirmed destruction of 31 enemy vessels," reported his communications officer, Lieutenant Betty Walsh. Captain Morris reports that the remaining 6 are attempting to retreat beyond the galactic rim. Negative, Admiral Carter replied firmly. None of them leave this system. Deploy the containment field. Across the human fleet, dozens of ships began working together to create something the aliens had never seen before. Energy fields that operated on principles beyond current galactic science formed a barrier around the entire battle area. The remaining Devourer ships found themselves trapped not just in normal space, but locked out of faster-than-light travel entirely. Captain Steve Parker of the UHSV Ranger demonstrated why the containment was necessary. His ship specialized in what humans called reality engineering, the ability to rewrite the laws of physics in localized areas. Where his weapons struck enemy vessels, the fundamental forces that held matter together simply stopped working. Captain, we have total weapon effectiveness against remaining targets, his tactical officer reported. Enemy adaptive systems cannot function when basic physics no longer apply. Understood. Continue firing until we achieve complete enemy elimination. The last Devourer ships died not with explosions, but with quiet dissolution as their atomic structures forgot how to remain stable. Metal, energy, and exotic matter simply came apart at the molecular level, leaving nothing behind but empty space. As the battle ended, the human fleet began forming up in a formation that demonstrated their true size. What the aliens saw made them understand how completely they had misunderstood humanity's place in the galaxy. Over 200 human warships now filled the space around the nebula. Each one was larger and more advanced than anything in the alien fleets. The smallest human vessel was bigger than the Zephyrian flagship, and some of the human dreadnoughts were large enough to carry entire cities inside their hulls. Captain Kevin Davis of the UHSV Explorer moved his ship close to the surviving alien vessels. His mission was humanitarian relief, something the aliens found difficult to process. The same species that had just demonstrated the ability to rewrite reality was now offering medical aid and emergency supplies. This is Captain Davis, he broadcast on all alien frequencies. We are prepared to assist with rescue operations and emergency repairs. Please transmit your casualty reports and supply requirements. The aliens were too stunned to respond immediately. Captain Mary Thompson of the UHSV Mercy, a hospital ship the size of a small moon, positioned herself near the damaged alien fleet and began deploying medical shuttles without waiting for permission. Captain Thompson to all vessels, she announced. We have advanced medical facilities available for any species. Our doctors have studied all known alien physiologies. We can treat injuries that your own medical technology cannot handle. Chancellor Kethmer found his voice first. Human fleet, this is Chancellor Kethmer of the Galactic Council. We thank you for your assistance in this battle. Admiral Carter's response was polite but firm. Chancellor, this is Admiral Carter. We were happy to help defend innocent lives against the Devourer threat. However, I think we need to have a serious conversation about the future relationship between humanity and the other species of this galaxy. The implications of that statement hit every alien commander at the same time. The species they had dismissed as primitive newcomers had just revealed technology that made them the most powerful force in known space. The balance of galactic power had shifted completely in the span of a single battle. Admiral Carter, Chancellor Kethmer said carefully, perhaps we have been too hasty in our previous judgments about human capabilities. Perhaps, Admiral Carter agreed. But that discussion can wait. Right now, we need to make sure your people receive proper medical attention and that your ships can return safely to your homeworlds. As human medical teams began working to save alien lives with technology that seemed like magic, the survivors of the Galactic Council fleet had time to think about what they had witnessed. Humanity had not just hidden advanced weapons. They had developed an entirely new understanding of science itself. The question now was what humanity planned to do with power that could reshape the galaxy. 1 month after the battle at Kepler Nebula, the Great Hall of Nexus Prime Station looked very different. The same crystal and metal walls rose toward the dome overhead, but the seating arrangement had changed completely. Where once the 12 ancient alien races had looked down on humanity from elevated platforms, now Ambassador Lisa Martinez sat at the center of the chamber. The alien delegates spoke in quiet, respectful tones. Gone was the arrogance and dismissal that had marked their previous interactions with humanity. They had seen what human technology could do, and they understood that everything had changed. Chancellor Kethmer rose slowly from his seat. His blue skin looked pale, and his forearms moved with careful deliberation. The proud Zephyrian leader, who had once dismissed humanity as primitive, now spoke with the voice of someone who knew he was addressing his superiors. Ambassador Martinez, he began, the Galactic Council formally requests that humanity accept full membership with all privileges and honors. We offer you the position of Senior Chancellor, with authority over all Council military forces. The offer hung in the air like a gift that everyone knew was too little and too late. Around the chamber, other alien leaders nodded in agreement. The crystalline hegemon Velthara diamond body caught the light as she leaned forward expectantly. Hive Queen Zaith's compound eyes focused on the human ambassador with what might have been hope. Ambassador Martinez stood up slowly. Captain Jake Robinson sat beside her, no longer pretending to be just an aide. His uniform now showed the rank, insignia of a human fleet admiral, and the aliens understood that they had been watched by one of humanity's top military commanders for 3 years. Chancellor Kethmer, Martinez said with the same polite tone she had always used, I appreciate the Council's offer. However, humanity must respectfully decline membership in your organization. The words sent a wave of shock through the alien delegates. They had expected humanity to demand leadership of the Council, not reject it entirely. Decline? Velthara asked, her voice like wind chimes in a storm. But surely humanity wishes to participate in galactic governance? Of course we do, Martinez replied. But the Galactic Council, as it currently exists, is not equipped to handle the challenges facing this galaxy. We need something new. Admiral. Robinson activated a holographic projector that showed a star map of the entire galaxy. Hundreds of systems were marked with human symbols, revealing the true extent of humanity's presence in space. For 2 centuries, Martinez continued, humanity has been building infrastructure throughout the galaxy. We have research stations, manufacturing facilities, and defensive platforms and systems you did not even know we had visited. We have been preparing for this moment. The aliens stared at the map in amazement. Human presence extended far beyond what any of them had imagined. The species they had thought controlled only one small solar system actually had installations in thousands of star systems. We propose the establishment of the Terran Protectorate, Martinez announced, a new form of galactic government based on merit and capability rather than age and tradition. Commander Yichtel of the Nocturnal Forces spoke from his high perch. What would this protectorate mean for our existing governments? Each species would maintain complete autonomy over their home worlds and colonies, Martinez explained. But interstellar trade, defense, and exploration would be coordinated through human systems. We have proven that we can protect the galaxy from threats like the Devourers. As if summoned by her words, the space around Nexus Prime began to shimmer. Not with the violent tearing that had marked the arrival of the human fleet during the battle, but with controlled rifts that opened like doorways in reality itself. The HSV Terra emerged from dimensional space with stately grace. The massive vessel was not just a ship, but a mobile city, stretching over 50 kilometers from end to end. Its hull was covered with docking bays, manufacturing facilities, and residential areas that could house millions of people. Admiral Ben Carter stood on the bridge of humanity's true flagship, looking out at the alien station through viewports that offered a perfect view of space. Around him, his bridge crew worked with the quiet efficiency that marked all human operations. Admiral, we are receiving clearance requests from over 200 alien vessels, reported his communications officer, Lieutenant Carol Webb. They want permission to approach and inspect our ship. Granted, Admiral Carter replied. Let them see what humanity has built. It is time for full disclosure. Throughout the galaxy, human ships were revealing themselves at other locations. Captain Nancy Pierce of the UHSV Genesis was leading terraforming operations that could transform dead worlds into garden planets in a matter of days. Captain Ryan Bell's engineering fleets were building space stations using construction techniques. That seemed to violate the laws of physics. Back in the council chamber, Ambassador Martinez continued her explanation of the new order. Humanity offers advanced medical technology that can extend the lifespan of any species, she said. We have communication systems that provide instantaneous contact across galactic distances. Our manufacturing capabilities can produce enough resources to eliminate poverty and want from every inhabited world. She paused and looked around the chamber at the alien faces watching her. But these gifts come with responsibilities. The Terran Protectorate will not tolerate aggression between species. We will not allow the exploitation of less advanced civilizations. We will not permit the kind of arrogance that has marked galactic politics for thousands of years. The implications were clear. Humanity was not asking for permission to reshape galactic civilization. They were informing the other species that the reshaping had already begun. Chancellor Kethmer found the courage to ask the question that all the aliens were thinking. And if some species refuse to accept this new order? Admiral Robinson answered, with quiet confidence. Then they will find themselves increasingly isolated as the rest of the galaxy moves forward into a better future. Humanity does not force anyone to accept our help, but we will not allow anyone to harm those who do. Over the following days, human technology began appearing throughout the galaxy. Medical teams arrived at alien worlds with treatments for diseases that had plagued entire species for millennia. Engineering crews began upgrading alien infrastructure with systems that were centuries ahead of current galactic standards. Captain Kevin Davis of the UHSV Explorer led diplomatic missions to species that had never been contacted by the Galactic Council. His ships brought not conquest but partnership, offering to share human knowledge with anyone willing to embrace peaceful cooperation. The transformation was not without challenges. Some alien leaders resented losing their traditional authority. A few species attempted to form alliances against human influence, but they quickly discovered that their weapons and ships were hopelessly outdated compared to human technology. Captain Mary Thompson's medical ship saved more lives in the first month of the Protectorate than the old Council's health services had managed in decades. Captain Steve Parker's research vessels began sharing scientific discoveries that promised to revolutionize every field of knowledge. As ambassador, Martinez stood in her new office aboard the UHSV Terra. She looked out at a view that showed dozens of alien ships docked with the human flagship. Representatives from hundreds of species were coming to learn about human technology and to negotiate their place in the new galactic order. Admiral Carter joined her at the observation deck, watching as small shuttles moved between human and alien vessels. Any regrets about revealing our capabilities? He asked. Martinez shook her head. We always knew this day would come. The galaxy needed protectors, not rulers. The old council was too concerned with maintaining their own power to focus on the real threats out there. As if summoned by her words, long-range sensors began detecting new energy signatures at the very edge of the galaxy. Something was stirring in the void between galaxies, something that made the Devourer invasion look like a minor skirmish. Admiral Carter smiled as he read the sensor reports. Whatever was coming, humanity would be ready. They had spent 2 centuries preparing for challenges that other species could not even imagine. The age of human leadership had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. Captain Nancy Pierce's voice came over the communication system from her position at the galactic rim. Admiral, we have new contacts approaching from intergalactic space. Multiple signatures, unknown configuration. Estimated arrival time is 6 months. Admiral Carter looked at Ambassador Martinez, and both humans smiled with the confidence of a species that had learned to prepare for anything. Begin Protocol 9, Admiral Carter ordered. It looks like the galaxy is about to discover why humanity built such a large fleet. In the vast darkness between galaxies, ancient intelligences that had been waiting for eons finally began to move toward the Milky Way. But this time, they would find something they had never encountered before. They would find humanity ready for war.